Dolphins generally have sex in about 6 seconds. It's pretty quick. To give you an example, at SeaWorld we had a mother called Calamity, and she, a female, she was getting very ill, and we didn't know what was wrong. So we took some blood samples, sent that to the lab to figure out what was wrong with her. We got the blood samples back, and they went, well, we know what's wrong with her. She's pregnant. And we kind of got a little bit confused because she'd been housed for the last 2 years with her sister in a tank. So there was no males involved. So we were like, how does this kind of work? Went back through all the records, and funnily enough, at the right time, so many months ago, there was a little record saying that T-Man, one of the male dolphins, broke through a gate, went into a pool, was there for 4 seconds, swam back out. Hardly worth mentioning. She got knocked up in that 4 seconds. That's all it took. So very, very interesting creatures. And the latest research in the last year and a half is really interesting about them, in fact. And we'll go a lot into detail on that on part 2 when we really start to answer those 3 big questions. Now, just a quick few facts on the bottlenose dolphin. 40 years is an average lifespan. In captivity, up to 100. Because, of course, you've got ultrasounds, you've got antibiotics, and lots of modern medical marvels to keep them alive. Small fish and squid, max hold of their breath, about 20 minutes. And they only really have a few predators, very large sharks and orcas. Although, a pod of dolphins together can kill any large shark and any orca. And they'll do it by ramming them, and they'll basically, get them to go away pretty quickly. So it's only if they get by themselves that they can get attacked by those predators. And now on to the last little group of animals I want to talk about today, and they're cephalopods, my favourite. Of course, I've left the best to last. Cephalopods, does anyone know what this one's called? Nautilus shell. Of course, I'm sure you have a few of these shells at home. Live very, very deep. About 200 meters down is the average depth the nautilus lives, and very, very ancient animal. And I love the symmetry and stuff inside, obviously, if you've ever cut one of those shells open. It uses basically just sort of a flap against the back of its chambers, and it inflates and deflates, and that's how it makes its buoyancy go up and down. And it will migrate up to the surface to breed, and then migrate back down to 200 meters of depth. Large, huge populations of these where we're currently traversing, and when we head across to New Zealand, that whole area is just full of them. They're everywhere, and hence you get quite a few of the shells washing up on the beaches. But my favourite underwater creature by far is this guy. Does anyone know his name? Cuttlefish. In particular, this is the Australian giant cuttlefish. They grow to about 30-35 centimetres in length. You would have seen the inside of these, the bone. It's related to an octopus. Cephalopods are octopus, squid, nautili, and cuttlefish. And inside this is pretty much an octopus, but it's got a bone inside which is white, and you find it on beaches, then you give it to your budgies. You know what I'm talking about? The cuttlefish bone. And that just enables it to be a little bit buoyant. So instead of being an octopus crawling along the bottom, it floats. Near enough. But what makes it amazing is all its little features, okay? Its eyes can see 180 degrees each one, so you can never sneak up on a cuttlefish. It can see absolutely everywhere at any time. It has an undulating flap around the outside that just enables it to move slowly in either direction. Underneath here, I think the other photo is a little bit better. Underneath here, you've got a jet engine. So it pumps water in around the outside of the head, pumps it out a nozzle, and it can get up to about 35 kilometers per hour out of that, which underwater is pretty impressive. It also is the fastest color and texture changer in the world. It looks like a neon sign, just pulsating color at you the whole time, and it also uses that as camouflage as well. If you want to know how to find a cuttlefish underwater, just look for the piece of coral that's slowly moving in the ocean currents, because they look exactly like whatever's behind them. They're very, very good. They also communicate via this color and texture changer as well. And I've spent plenty of time underwater with these guys just getting to know them. And they will go bright white if they're scared, and they'll go mottled like this if they're trying to scare you. And so you can swim up to them, and as you get close, they'll go bright white, you need to stop. And then when they go this color, you keep going again. And if you take 20 minutes, you'll get right up to them. And if you take another 5 minutes to get your hand up, you can actually pat them. They'll get comfortable enough that you can pat them. They're very, very tame, but they're cautious, so you just got to learn the communication. Another good diving trick I have with these, they have 10 tentacles, 10 arms, I should say, out the front. You put your arm up like this, make sure I'm in the light, put your arm up like this, and here he is here, and you go, put 2 fingers up, he'll put 2 tentacles up. You put 3, he'll put 3, and he'll copy you the whole time. I can spend hours with these. They're just amazing, amazing creatures. They have 3 hearts. They're one of the only animals in the animal kingdom that has 3 hearts. And that's to pump all the blood through, and they've got a large amount of copper in their blood to conduct the electricity, which of course has to go to all those skin cells. Their reproductive cycle, of course, is the most exciting thing of the whole lot, though. They live fast, die young. They'll go from a little thing this big to a foot long in 18 months, and then they'll die. Okay? Cycle repeats, and hence why you get so many of their bones on the beaches. So, start off as a little guy, they grow to sexual maturity about, depending on the male and female, they're different months, but about a year and a half later, a bit under that, they'll get to full sexual maturity and then they'll mate. Now, how they mate is really, really interesting. The male, my dear, please. May I use you as an example? Thank you. The male, the female, very simple, you don't need to hold my hand, we don't do that. Yep. Basically, the male gets a sack of what they call spermophores on his tentacle. He'll grab his tentacle, his arm I should say, he'll go up to the female and he'll pop that sack of sperm up her left nostril. You'll be glad to know though, I die straight after that, so that's fine. Thank you, my dear. You on the other hand, you will fertilize the eggs, you will lay them into a little nook and cranny where nothing can get to them, and then you will die as well. The whole process repeats. So it's quite an amazing, amazing animal, and I highly recommend if you ever get a chance to communicate with one, you should take that opportunity. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal part of my presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it interesting. Thank you.